Hello everyone, and welcome to 2v2 match on Paddy Field, and I'm teamed up with the Colonel Director here, while my opponents are Hun, Second Lieutenant, and Quicksilver Major. Now, Quicksilver and Director are both phenomenal players, and we have some excellent gameplay over in Gregory Fetter for you guys today. I'm mostly going to be playing over in Anna Boris, and honestly, this game was just a real pleasure to play. It had some of the team game dynamics that I love to see, as well as just some good unit highlights, some risky maneuvers, everything that makes me love this game. So, DHS Mi-24P is starting us off, and of course does have better range than the MH-60L DAP, so getting the first shot, and that is one hit, one kill on the enemy DAP, and I was very happy with that. The Mi-24P, of course, also does have 3,150 meter range against airplanes, and that Block 52D is actually about to feel that, so one hit, two hits, down we go, 160 point plane kill right off the start by a DHS Mi-24P, so I've really been liking these guys. I know helicopters aren't always the best answer for things, but this one is very, very capable, and I think definitely worthy of consideration if you are playing anything with East Germany in it. I mean, 4 Kokons could be a little bit better, but the Molnias air-to-air are just really wonderful. Plus 10 strength, I mean, it's a little expensive at 95 points, but yeah, that's the way of things. So, we did also have a bit of an odd thing, so Director has already called in a cluster artillery piece, and is shooting it as soon as it comes in. So over here on this side we have 2 Modernas and Osa, some light stuff there, Special Aufklärer, and then we had a bit of a combined arms push over on this side with my Sokol helping out his Lecha Pechota. But the question is, where is that cluster going? And it's going on the predicted position of Quicksilver's tanks. Just, I mean, it's a call that I would not have been able to make, but honestly, really, really impressive, and yeah, pretty devastating too. So usually over on this side you have a super heavy versus super heavy fight, and this is one way to win it before it even starts, as both of Quicksilver's tanks are very, very damaged, and they're Merkava 3Bs, right? This is something too. Whenever I play Israel, the Merkava 3Bs are they're the super heavy I want to use. But at 155 points, they have 20 AP, 21 frontal armor, and the Moderna has 23 AP, 21 frontal armor, and that's a little bit weird because the Moderna is usually the one that's a little bit subpar, but in this case, each Moderna can outperform the 3B in its anti-tank role. It's just that the 3B has that frag launcher as well. So, I don't know, this was really, really pretty risky, and if the Modernas can get their shots in on the Merkavas, that could be a good thing. But there is answering artillery from the Blue Force side, unfortunately a little bit behind the engagement, although it does get a stun there on that tailing Moderna, and that is going to be enough to cause a bit of a delay. Now, I'm going over the top because, well, sometimes I make bad decisions, and role-playing as a World War I general stuck in his ways is usually one of them. BMP-1's getting some good supporting fire, but we are taking fire from mortars, and this is going to be, it's not an all-in commit, it's mostly just Motostrelchi, Motshoots, and things like that I thought might have cost-effective engagements, and yeah, perhaps not. I did also lose the Sokol over on this side as a DAP has come over, and DAP versus Sokol, I would usually put my money on the DAP just because of his stealth and optics. So, I mean, well, no, just the optics rather. Plus, Stingers tend to hit a little bit more often than the Sokol, so I think I missed my first shot and he didn't. And sometimes that's all it takes. The Modernas are backing up. They've used most of their autocannon rounds, which is kind of impressive. And Blue 4, despite that early cluster, has actually taken the position farther up in Fetter. The problem that they're going to have is that the right-hand side is lost to Red 4, so my team did take that. Mostly Director's troops on the ground, and the Special Aufklärer are going to be getting some nice spotting. It's going to be very, very difficult to keep all of that. Well, it's hard to push into this part of Fetter if you have something spotting you on that side. You can see the Merkava 3Bs are actually, I mean, we could call in ATGM planes if we wanted to. So this is a little bit rude of Director, but I mean, it's a team game. People will do this all the time. You have to really kind of expect it and get used to it, have some base defense. The Mi-2s just sitting on top of an auxiliary Pekud. We've already seen cluster as well, so they really need to move that, because my guess is this BM-27 is going to be called in directly on top of the Pekud, and that is something you really can't afford to do. What seems to be unfortunate is that DAP didn't have any more Stingers left, but they need to move that command vehicle basically yesterday. And you can see, in response to having the 3Bs spotted by our recon, the Merkava 3Bs are being moved back. So a nice response there from Quicksilver, getting out of that bad situation, and then following up with some, again, just a little bit too far back artillery of his own. I would have liked to see that up here. I mean, far be it for me to criticize, but and that is, yeah, well, I'm doing game commentary. I'm just telling it like it is, and this is going to be, well, let's even it out. I should not have pushed that Snezka up, and going over the top continually can get you an advantage here, but it's also just going to be one heck of a grind, particularly against USA. I mean, Humvees aren't the most cost-effective transport options, arguably I have slightly better, but I mean, Rifleman 90 I don't think are terrible, and I really just... attacking into it is going to be hard, especially with US Marines. I mean, this I actually do like, because it lets me kill a 30-point infantry unit if I can get that. And I mean, the cost for me is Model Strelchi, maybe even 2 groups or Motschützen. It's still at cost, even if it's only a 5 or 10 point gain. Now, the Mi-24P gets a little bit hog wild on this side, but I've rearmed him with Molnias, and we take down a Cobra, 55-point recon chopper, and win. The Mi-24P is far and away the MVP of this entire match, so I just got to pull him back, make sure we don't get shot up too much over in the woods, and my Przminski are up there just trying to get recon around. And I think that's really another tale of this game. It's just so much recon so far forward. I did also call out a 913S because I was anticipating, just like they had done at the beginning of the game, that they would call out an airplane to try and kill the Mi-24P, and then when it does, hopefully I was going to come in and just nail it. Now, you will notice, I hope anyway, some differences in some of my playstyle between this game and things like the Adopt a Noob tournament. This one was a couple weeks ago, and I've really been trying to do things a little bit better, so we'll see if it actually translates into much. But honestly, I don't know, games like this are... I mean, I know all these guys are just having a good time and playing the game that we all enjoy. So, Feder is capped by blue, that is giving them a +1 ticking. Now, we haven't capped Anna yet, we also haven't capped Gregory, and I'm going to be doing that pretty soon. So, BVP 1K moving up, trying to get the cap there. And a couple of Prom S's back here as well. So, Prom S's, I really think are almost too good, because a lot of 5HE mortars don't have a lot of ammunition. You'll see some that have like 30 to 40, maybe 45 ammunition, and these guys have 81, so they're decent range, they're good dispersion, they're not too expensive at just 40 points, and they have 5HE, which makes them devastating against infantry. It's just, what more could you want? In a mortar, if you ever have these guys, I recommend taking them. The superior technology and all of those associated puns. So, Feder was moving. It looks like the guess as to the command vehicle position, probably command infantry, was more than likely spot on there. So they are moving around in Feder, and now we have some artillery coming in at our own base. And this is entirely fair. So we've had an Ondava. Ooh, actually, wait. Yeah, I don't know if you guys caught that. That command vehicle was not the Cheriton command vehicle. It was my buy for Gregory. And so I've spent on 2 BVP 1Ks recently. And these guys are 130 points each. And the retaliatory hit for, you know, looking for CVs just went in on some random reinforcing command vehicles. I was sitting there going, no way, come on. When does that happen? But, yeah, I mean, it did. We were all just laughing in voice chat. It was a good time. So, speaking of, if you guys want to get in on some of these games, be featured on the channel, things like that, you're always welcome to send me replays to the Discord. Also, I do have to ask for a like, share, subscribe, and all that standard YouTuber nonsense just to help the channel get some more visibility. And really just, the more people we reach, the more fun games we have with friends on the Discord, and I think it's just a good thing. So M3A1 Bradley CFV, and this I think is a really good compromise unit, because the 80-point Bradley performs... I mean, it performs a little bit better, sure, but it's just that much more expensive, that much harder to get your return on investment, and the 60-point I think is a nice compromise. There's a lower point cost one, I think, and it's a little bit wet noodly because of the 15 HE ATGM, but the 20 strength ATGM I think is decent performance. So the Mi-24P is going up again, and I figured this might be a bait, honestly, but yeah, it turns out it was. The Mi-24P shooting in at the Black Hawk and then manually retargeted at the DAP, but a little bit too late, and when we do close, yeah, I mean, it looks like I even missed the manual retarget. 2 shots out of the DAP, down goes that hero Mi-24P to, I mean, just, I think USA gets either 4 or 3, depending on the veterancy, so a little bit hard to tell considering, that should have been down vetted, I think. So MiG-29-913S goes in and suicides into a Block 15. This was, I mean, Director even said in the chat at the time, what are you doing? And I really don't have a good answer. I think I was just incensed at losing the 24P, but here we do see something nice. The Przminski are spotting a Humvee CP, moving up and into Boris, and we're trying to watch where it goes. Let's see, right about there. So a little bit ahead of where I pinged it, and my Ondava is trying to answer. My ally's Ondava is going to be trying to answer that. If we can knock out a CP for free, that's, I mean, it's a good answer to losing the other command vehicle in Cheriton on its way to Gregory, which I still haven't replaced yet, because I did want to buy, you know, something on the ground instead of 360 points worth of command vehicles right in a row. It's a long time to go without improving your front line. So let's see what these shots can do as they start to land in. First it was a bit of a miss, and yeah, second, unfortunately, just a tiny little bit of a miss there. I was kind of surprised, honestly, because we had vision on it. It should have been a relatively low dispersion shot. Maybe I missed something when I did the target at position, but I mean, that is going to be enough time for the Humvee CP to move out. He doesn't stay stunned that long, and the Ondava's firing pattern really could be a little bit better. So one of the things that makes really amazing artillery really amazing is its firing pattern. This one has a bit of a delay between shots, and that can let things get out of dodge. So on this side on the right we have Reserve Schützen, Motschützen, Spezial, Aufklärer, all of that stuff moving up, screening out for the push into Feder here, as there is an answering maneuver by Quicksilver with Rovait with Zeldas. These are the cheap Israeli boxes and standard line infantry. Another cluster round going in here, and you gotta be getting tired of that if you're the Blue 4 team, but it looks like this time it was a little bit more of a miss. Ooh, no, a couple shots on. Really just amazing targeting. Keep in mind too, this the BM-27 is a 30-second aim time artillery piece, so his anticipation for those shots is just truly amazing, kind of just wonderful. And terrifying at the same time. So Motschützen on this side should do alright. Modernas will be able to have some supporting fire, but they are panicked as a result of incoming fire into their position, and the 3D Baz should be able to get some good context. So the Lahat ATGM on top of it is really impactful. 2,800 meter range, 22 AP power, but he was actually relying on that main gun, 23 AP, and this is the march of the Merkavas here. A little bit of revenge, hopefully, in the water for Quicksilver. After that initial engagement, you can see the tides are pretty much exactly turned around. The Merkavas are roughly fine, the Modernas are panicked and damaged. I would have almost liked to see them just keep going forward there, because I mean, the Conqueror's M might be pretty scary. He's actually out of ammunition, though there's no way for the Blue 4 team to know that. And this is, I mean, it's 3-2, and even if the Merkava 3Bs aren't pound for pound as good as a Moderna, you have an answer to it now that you didn't in that early engagement without the 3D Baz. So 913S going after a Barak, bit of a dive there, but he's just trying to get the space clear for his own Modernas to operate. Unfortunately, the Barak gets out, and down goes the air superiority fighter right smack dab into the ground there. Hate to see it, honestly. And I've brought in, I think I was out of VVP-1Ks, so I'm walking up some command infantry up to Gregory to allow my teammate to keep calling stuff in on his side of the field, but you can see my delay has cost me here, as Hondahan, sensing that I really didn't have all that much more because my constant attacks in had stopped, is moving up, and is moving up with US Marines as well as some cheaper infantry. That's a nice, good combined arms push. It's drawing mortar fire, but a little bit too late, so I think the US Marines were able to get out of dodge there before most of that damage came in. It's the last thing you want to see. So Ra'am from Quicksilver, and I don't know, nearly, well, did some damage. Mostly just a stun, though. I think it's hard to kill the super heavies with low. I mean, it's cheaper and therefore easier to get return on value against soft targets, but the loss of HE does make it a little bit worse against Modernas, and frankly, even with Kernosses, it's a hard kill. I mean, maybe not when they're damaged like this, but I don't know. I mean, it's all about what you prefer in deck building. I know a lot of people don't like to bring the more expensive planes. You'll see this as well with things like USSR, where you have these wonderfully performing 200-point planes, but it's 200 points. How are you ever supposed to get return on value? Even one run, even if you kill a super heavy, it's still not going to be enough to justify that price unless your plane also gets out. Anything else could be equally solved by the same allocation of points on the ground, at least that's the prevailing theory. So there is action now by Han pushing into the forest and Gregory. This is also a result of my relative immobility here on the left-hand side, as I was just calling in a couple too many command vehicles and losing one of them on the way, and this is going to be a little bit too much pressure. So M3A1 moving up, Riflemen and the ZSU 57-2s are good, but they can't handle an M1 Abrams, and that is going to be the solution from Honda here. Plus, in close-range Bushmaster autocannons gets an ammo explosion, and that's going to be a hard thing to deal with. Really unfortunate to see the Conqueror's M miss. I mean, it's one of those units where it's like 50-50 accuracy, excluding veterancy, and you really hope that you hit every time, because if you don't, you need to hit twice. But at least we did land the second shot. That's 60 points for the kills off a single 25-point infantry, and the smoke was just a tiny bit too late to save. So Mi-24P, and yes, you can see him being a little bit unoriginal here, so we actually do get taken out very quickly by some anti-air, and this is why you always need to adapt as you go through the game. Failure to do so will result in excessive casualties, and I'm just I was particularly tactically inflexible this game. I think that's a reasonable conclusion watching this. And that was a big problem because now it's costing me basically my entire front line, trying to deal with Honda Hun's US Marines, his riflemen, but the M13A3s are, I mean, you let them sit there long enough, they will get kills, and they're resilient against the low armor piercing of the Moto Strelchi. At just 15 points, it takes a couple hits to kill those guys, and they're hits you're not going to get when you're panicked, stunned, and things like that. So, Merkava 3Bs, and I believe the Baz was somewhere around there. There's also an M1A2 from Honda Hun. And this was starting to look a little bit scary. I mean, we hadn't been able to really push into Feder. Yeah, so, okay, this is my response to tactical inflexibility. So, moving up around the right, I would have liked to have kept the Mi-17 back if I'd been able to do this again, but two T-72 M2 Wilks, these guys, 120 points, they're not true super heavies either, but they do have nice AP power for the point cost. 17 frontal armor is a little bit light for that, I mean, for that cost, but really it could be worse. And with all of this firepower, I was hoping to squeeze around the side of Boris and get in and just cut off the reinforcing line, because oftentimes people will just go right through on this road. So if you can attack the left side of Boris and get something with a big gun right about here, I think is what I was going for, you can actually see all the way into the road and just take things out as they think they're safe, moving up into the woods trying to engage with your forces. But the LSTR are a little bit overzealous here, and I'm just, I don't know, I'm trying to smoke. I'm trying to do everything well here, but it's a little bit too much at once for me. I don't quite manage it the best. So, Pivad's on this side, and that's really annoying because I would have loved the Wilk to shoot there, but just not getting the angle, and I'm spending a lot of time killing riflemen. This push generally would have benefited from more fire support that could have ground through just basically meat shield infantry. Horrible thing to say, I know, but that's sort of what it is, and allowed those tank guns to get kills like that one that mattered quite a bit more toward taking that position. So, I'm moving around on the side, but I did say this game was one of dynamic plays from both ends of the field, and you're about to see one from the Blue Force side in response to this push. So, this is something you have to be careful not to overextend, and one thing that you'll notice I'm lacking is anti-air. I have a single ROM. It doesn't have the best range versus helicopters. 2800 is not bad, but it's not in the right position to protect this push over here. It's mostly just reactive defensive over on this side, and that is going to be a big problem. Plus the M1A2 from Honda Hun has been moved around from the right-hand side of center over here, and this single tank can kill both of my Wilks if he feels like it, and that is a big, big, big problem. The only chance I have is to get a side shot on him, and that is not something you can rely upon, especially when he's just going right down the pipe and kind of knows where you are, too. So really a little bit unfortunate of an engagement there. My Wilk fires, which was kind of annoying, and then the longbow from Honda Hun is perfect. I mean, they're fire and forgets, so the smoke won't matter, and I frankly just got lucky there that both of those shots missed. Now we do take down another, I think it was a Barak there, and the ROM, I mean, that's what he's there for. He did some nice work. It's just not a good answer to the longbow, and I didn't really have one available, so I'm moving one Wilk back up to the high ground, trying to keep the other one just smoked off, because I felt like if I tried to move him around here, the longbow would eventually see him and take him out. But BVP 1K? Yeah, no. So, a little bit ambitious for me trying to cap that zone, but I called in the BVP 1K before the longbow was in the area, and kind of forgot that that would be a threat. So really nice response from the longbow, moving around, taking out a command vehicle, and just getting me frankly angry enough that I sent in the Mi-24P again. Just the first one of these guys was good. Everything else after that was a waste of points, and is actually getting rid of the benefit from that first one, which is frankly kind of sad. So Auxiliary Picud is getting just zoned out of Gregory, but not able to get the kill. These guys do have very nice frontal armor at 10 for 130 points. It's very nice, but we are ticking at +2. So with Gregory capped, with Boris for now uncapped, and we had tried to cap it ourselves, but no such luck, we might be able to even get up to a +3. So the Wilk here, still trying to get a surprise shot in the M1A2 Abrams, but I was more just kind of waiting for him to die, which that's a way to know that you overextended. It's just waiting to die. So we do get a nice shot here. That was actually pretty good. Down to 3, and if we can get a second one, we might even be able to get the kill. It's just who's going to fire, and we do get it first. Down goes the M1A2, and I could not believe my luck. So, I mean, killing a super heavy with a T-72 M2 Wilk is not something you do every day, and yeah, I mean, I don't know, it was just so much heartbreak on both sides of the field there, losing the BVP-1K, losing the M1A2 Wilk, just one of those games that just rips all your feels right out of your chest for how you thought it was going to go, because, yeah, no, it just wasn't. So on this side, the C-72 M2 Wilk, and I'm going for that Auxiliary Picud, but this was probably the closest we're ever going to get to comedy here. I'm aiming, I'm firing, that's one shot and a miss, and then my attempts to smoke off my Wilk I cut my own line of sights. The second shot comes in, gets down to 2 points of strength, and then I can't take a third. Not because it's not possible, but because I've made it impossible out of smoke. Although, I mean, the counter-argument is the 3D Baz is right there, and that guy would just destroy my Wilk if given the opportunity. So, another MI-24P. This game, honestly, I was really just trying them out just to gauge their performance, so I was intentionally calling out more than I should have. You can see we do get another good engagement against a DAP, except missing that second shot, and it turns into the DAP winning. So it feels like those helicopters, you just need to play them really far back, and if you do, they can take out things like DAPs, they can take out most of the blue 4 anti-Helo Helos that you'll see, although maybe be a little bit careful with the French ones with those Mistrals. They're just really long range, 26, 25 meter range on those. I mean, I think you could still have the edge because of 10 strength on the Mi-24P, but it would be a little risky. I mean, I think it's 2 shots either way. So, Auxiliary Pakud is spotted and going to be clustered, and that has to be a lot of heartbreak. That was the one that was trying to get up into Gregory, that got back out of the way, away from that T-72M2, and just can't stay alive for it. So, another command vehicle. I think I've called in, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 2 died, so that's 5, so this makes 6 command vehicles. I think it was running out, frankly, in this game, and it's a point investment that was really detracting from what I could put forward onto the field. LSTR should not be the front line here. They were just sort of pushed up because they're what I had left in the area, and of course they will do decently against helicopters. I think one of them did take down the longbow, which unfortunately we missed, but there is a para call out from Quicksilver. It's basically the longbow of the ground is how I think about it, because this thing is truly deadly sometimes. 29, 75 meter range is very, very long, and that T-72M1 takes one on the chin. Second shot already on the way. Very fast missile speed, very fast reload speed, but unfortunately for the para, a little bit of a miss. Let's see what we can do with the third, and that's my Wilk being targeted. Oh goodness, that hurts. Down to 4 strength, second shot, and there it is. So I did lose one of the Wilks. The other Wilk, I think on the left side, was killed by, I don't know, probably infantry or something similar. But we are chasing some TACOM, so I think both teams lost a lot of command vehicles this game. Kind of weird when you think about it, right? It's like if we just hadn't bought those, we could each have had a couple hundred more points on the ground. But we're chasing the TACOM. They do, unfortunately, get a little bit away from the LSTR, but that also wasn't really what I was going for. We see a HEMT here, we see some units in the back. I was hoping to get good kills there, but a wonderful firing concave from Quicksilver and Honda Hun's reinforcements is able to mostly save them. I manually targeted the HEMT because I'm just that kind of guy. I mean, it's 40 points, right? Like, usually I won't go for like the cheaper trucks, the 10-point, 15 trucks, 15-point trucks, but the 40-point ones, I mean, they're low availability, and you rely on bringing them back to the fob and filling them back up and taking them back out again, and getting that, 1, is 40 points worth of kills right there, which is great, and 2, you're denying potentially your opponent's long-term resupply abilities just by limiting the number of trucks that can be on the field at any given point in time. So, 7 minutes possible left in this game. We did play it a little bit shorter of a time limit. I think it was 30 minutes max, not 40. And we only have, actually we do have about that left in the game, so we are taking it +3, 212 points to nearly 70, and this is starting to look borderline catastrophic for blue, as Gregory is definitely a good hold, but a Baz coming in does get some shots off. My 25k, very unhappy with that, did get killed, so I was trying to answer the Makava 3D Bazes, and yeah, not a lot of success there. I think that was a lot of my problems with this particular match were user error, so you'll see a lot of good units die because they were put in bad positions, and frankly that's one of the hardest things about the learning curve in this game, is figuring out how not to do that, which sounds really simple, right? Like, you'd think there's some shorthand rulebook of just never do this, never do that, never do the other, but if you try and play that way, you'll find that you never take any risks, and risks are also what give you sometimes the greatest rewards in this game. The 200-point breakthroughs, things like the Spetsnaz GRU breaking through that I had on the channel as one of the 10 AM shorts a couple days ago, and it's just, that was worth 300 some points worth of kills, but I, technically speaking, broke best practices by sending forward recon infantry with low availability that have equivalents in fighting for things like forest fighting, or I didn't need to use the Spetsnaz GRU there. So, Thermo MiG coming in, just trying to prevent any reinforcements going in. That's why I hit the road, and then fry anything that was just in the woods there, trying to buy myself a bit more time for reinforcements to come in. Of course, BMP-1s are track speed, which is not exactly the fastest, and that's a big problem that I had right now with the Eastern Bloc deck that I'm playing, is just everything was really slow. That wasn't a helicopter, and that I think, change some buying priorities into things that they shouldn't have been. So Conquerors moving up, trying to get them to be more useful here. Of course, I mean, I think they've both gotten a fair number of shots. Doesn't necessarily translate into kills, but you don't necessarily need the kills to get value out of those guys either. So Ron coming in from Quicksilver, not sure what he's going for. Oh, it's a turn. Side shot on something, let's see. And, oh, what is that going for? Could be the Modernas. No. Wow, I really judged that wrong. I think some moat shoots and reserve shoots in the square force for the target. Yeah, I mean, the Realm will be really good at that. You get, I believe, 4 projectiles, so that is pretty nice, a good spread. So, second longbow buy from Han to Hun, and the nice thing for me is that he's already killed all my tanks, so there really aren't that many left to take out, and my LSTR are still nice and healthy. So Iglas, I mean, 55% accuracy, 2450 range, but I was actually blocked by line of sight here because I'm too deep in the woods. You can see moving over to the edges there, and there are some factions where you have to just be aware that infantry like this is very common. I actually lost line of sight, jeez. Goodness gracious. One hit. Let's see if we can get a second one. Oh no, swing and a miss. Okay, come on, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, anyway, there are certain factions you just have to be aware they have infantry like that. They have a lot of forward anti-air presence. It's like whenever I play as South Africa and the person I'm playing against knows I'm South Africa, and then they call in tons of helicopters and paratroopers and things like that. I'm just sitting there going, what's the staple of South African infantry play, particularly on flanks? It's SASF. It's things, it's elite forces that have anti-air tools. So why would you do that? Why would you think that you can get around the side with that when my exploit unit on the side there, my, you know, if I can get one thing through to be impactful, that unit for me counters yours. And you should know just by the deck selection. And of course, newer players might not know that, and I'm not saying that you should right off the bat, but if you've played against South Africa a bunch of times and your go-to answer against them is still a helicopter or a plane, then, I mean, that's something you should look at and say, okay, this is maybe less of the overall plan and more of the specific answer. You can't treat every game against every faction the same. It just doesn't play that way. It's actually part of what makes the learning curve worse, I think. And I know I'm going on a little bit of a rant here, but I mean, it's my video. We're 30 minutes into it. I feel like that's my prerogative here. Part of the learning curve of this game is understanding what you're about to face, and understanding what you're about to face requires some familiarity with the units themselves. I don't just mean what their paper stats are, but how that translates into how they perform in the game, what roles people are going to use them in, both well and poorly, right? Because both of those things do matter. And I don't know, it's hard to do that without being good at the decks yourself. So one of the challenges I faced when I was first getting into this was I was good with blue dragons, I wasn't really good with much else. And every single match I played was like going into a black box of I don't really know what I'm about to see. But whatever it is, I'll have to try and deal with it the best I can, and sometimes your responses just end up not being the best when you're just not really sure what you should be handling. These days it is a little bit different because I've played as many more factions and had some of them just frankly explained to me. Ooh, Paras may be able to get a nice kill here. Yeah, down goes a Moderna. Jeez, 2 Paras. 220 points worth of I want to cluster artillery that, frankly, but brutally effective when they get those spikes online. I mean, goodness gracious, the range too. Like, this is why people like the it's the Red Dragons one, the WZ-550, I want to say. Pretty good range on that as well. Decent armor piercing. I actually wonder, I might do a stat comparison between them and the Para, because that would be kind of interesting. Double Hornet, and I think they're just trying to fend off the tanks here as we are reaching 464 points for conquest points, and that means the end of the game relatively soon, unless they can break through the middle pretty hard here. Boris is kind of lost. Gregory, I think, is sort of the combined focal point right now. M51 Ishermans. I know, Ishermans, improved Shermans, I get it, but I like calling them Fishermans or Ishermans. And a single M1 Wilk should be able to do decently well here, except the Paras, man. I almost want to take a look at Blue Forge to see their kill list. That has to be just devastating, because they got this guy, they got my Wilk, they got a Moderna, and that's just while we've been watching. I think they've also gotten a fair number of infantry fighting vehicles and similar. Trying to go in, we actually do kill 1 and 2. Down they go, 220 points worth of kills off of 25k, probably the most worth it 25k I've ever had, but still, I mean, a one-way trip, so only about 100 points worth of gain there, and that's going to be it. 5,489 points worth of kills, 3975 worth of losses, and apparently a little bit of friendly fire from both teams, it looks like here. Let's see. And we're going to have high-performing units, the Mi-24P just won my heart today with the Block 52 and the DAP. And, I mean, just more besides. Other than that, the Wilk that killed the M1A2, which is not this guy. Let's see. Oh, yeah, LSTR is very nice. And this guy, Merrick here in his T-72 M2 Wilk with an M1 and an M1A2 Abrams kill. So that's going to be all we've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around, and we'll see you again real soon.